So hello fellow Earthlings. This is Earthling 6455463728. And I wanted to address an incident that Dave Chappelle had. And while I do support Dave Chappelle, I think his jokes are funny. Some things we disagree about, and ultimately I wanted to say that to Dave Chappelle and everybody else, you don't own the light that bounces off of your face, and you don't own the words that leave your mouth. Anyway, to get into who I am and any of that, I am Earthling 64 yada yada yada. I am a ex-reservist, so I have some military experience. I have an MBA, I have a computer science degree. I've been programming for the last 20 years, done all sorts of different programs. I've traveled a lot to France and Italy and the Czech Republic and Korea and Japan and Venezuela and a couple places in the Caribbean. I've gained and lost about 85 pounds or so and kept it off for at least 5 years. Quit smoking. I have, do all sorts of repairs, whether it's car or appliances. And let's get into Dave. So apparently there is a recording, surreptitiously recording of Dave Chappelle being very calm and discouraging anybody in his entourage from getting too hands-on or difficult with some people. And this stems from, I guess, somebody saw him and his entourage and they wanted to get a picture with him, and I guess they weren't wearing a mask, so his entourage got kind of rowdy about that, and in turn were negative to the person who was asking for a picture or autograph or whatever it was. And then Dave Chappelle went over to the group that the person came from and again was trying to placate members of his posse, his entourage. But what the recording shows him saying is, I think that person is recording me, and this other person might be recording me, and you all are recording me, and da-da-da. And after the recording was recorded, apparently he left, and this part is the interesting part. Or apparently he came back, and this part wasn't recorded, where he told these people that they were a bunch of BS ends, I guess, which for Dave Chappelle is not really much of anything. It might seem like a big deal, but if you've ever seen Dave Chappelle perform, it's kind of like he came back and said, "Hey, how y'all doing? What's going on?" But honestly, I have myself been recorded, and I can admit, and I've also recorded other people, and I can admit that there is a tendency and a desire to say, "Don't record me." But at the same time, people are always recording you all the time. It's just not in a format that is replayable. People are always looking at you. They're always hearing what you say. They just can't put it up on a screen and or play it for somebody else. They can say, "This is what that person said, da 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 da." And I guess, the last part, it would have been a lot better and a lot easier if someone had recorded Dave Chappelle coming back, because it kind of, what they're saying happens kind of contrasts with what was previously recorded. in that Dave Chappelle was trying to, bring the situation down, bring it to a normal state of affairs. Unfortunately, it looked like if people from his entourage wanted to grab the phones of people's phones and delete stuff from it, which is that's problematic, because when I was recorded, I didn't do that, because I wasn't doing anything that I needed to grab anybody's phone to protect myself from. When I was recording someone, they tried to grab my phone, and it didn't end well, for me as well. But not in a major way, but I hope that it discouraged the person from trying to grab anybody's phone in the future. But like I said, we are already being recorded by people all of the time. So the idea that someone is recording you in a format that can be replayed, to me, to be offended by that is just ludicrous. It's just insane. It's like, what? And I had gone to someone about the person trying to grab my phone, and I said, yeah, I was recording them and they're trying to grab my phone. And at least two different people, professionals, were saying something that struck me as just nuts, which is that I was potentially provoking this person by recording them. So that was like shocking to me, because number one, I asked one of the people, I said, listen, so if I had a camera on a pole, that's legal, right? And they said, yeah, of course. Everybody does that. There are cameras all over the place. So then I said, what's the difference between my arm and a pole? And then they shut up and they didn't ask anything else, which was kind of satisfying, but I would have wanted them to admit that what they had previously said was ridiculous, because there's no difference between my arm and a pole. It's just you can't try to grab a camera off of a pole. That would clearly be some attempt at larceny, at robbery, at stealing. But if you try to grab it from my arm, it isn't. No, I don't think so. I don't think that makes any sense. So also, it puts me in the position of thinking, okay, a lot of people get upset with the paparazzi, apparently. And I'm thinking to myself, I have no experience with the paparazzi. I understand that some people have an idea that, they'd like to protect their family, their kids from being exposed via the paparazzi. And I understand that it can be annoying to have people try to record you all of the time. This is, if they didn't have a camera, I guess you would call them a stalker, right? And having a stalker is scary. It is absolutely scary. But if you have a stalker who really just wants to potentially show embarrassing pictures that might gain you more attention in the media, I get it. It can be embarrassing. Vanessa Williams knows about that. Kim Kardashian knows about that. Yeah, life is embarrassing, and it feels like it's the end of your life if somebody exposes something about you, especially if it's criminal. So, if you are famous, maybe you don't want to do anything with that. But, we all do, and I guess that maybe from that aspect, it can be scary. You never know if somebody's going to get you for something. But I've also wondered to myself, you can have a spoiled child, and spoiled. That's kind of like you can have a wild horse, you know. They're two of the same things, right? If you have a domesticated child, that child is good. If you have a domesticated horse, that horse is good. Not from the horse's perspective. The horse is like, you've broken the horse. You've broken its will. It's going to do whatever you want. So it's like, you can break the will of a child and now they will follow you and do what they're supposed to do, right? So that's kind of sad from that perspective. But that said, if you have a child that is not behaving in a domesticated fashion, that can be difficult. And one of the things that you can do to make sure that you're never in that position is that if your child wants to, bawl and scream for 5 hours, you ignore it so that the kid knows that that is not a means of achieving its goals. Bawling and screaming is not going to work out. And maybe, if you have paparazzi following you, you just ignore them and you do whatever it is that you want to do anyway, even to the extent of, hey, you're paparazzi and you are here to take pictures of me. So you just stand up and let them take pictures of you until they're bored and then they go home. Or they can just take 100 pictures of you standing up in one place for an hour. If you try to resist or you try to run, they have even more reason, I would imagine, to follow and to continue. Why would anybody want to stop when it seems to be working, kind of thing? But I know that it's impossible to ask everybody to have that kind of perspective, where you control the situation rather than letting the situation control you. It's like stupidly telling people that don't resist the police and you'll be okay. Maybe it's exactly like that. Maybe there are some instances where people are acting completely reasonable and it is the paparazzi or just ordinary folks coming up to them doing a lot more than is reasonable, just like a policeman might. Except no, I don't actually believe that, because police know that almost anything that they do is okay. They can get away with it. Paparazzi don't know that almost anything that they do, they can get away with it. Regular people in the street approaching a celebrity don't know that almost anything that they do will work. As a matter of fact, with respect to the people that Dave Chappelle had an altercation with, in spite of what seemed like perfectly reasonable behavior and apologies to Dave Chappelle and his friends about the person approaching without a mask, I don't think, that they should have apologized. They should have just put on a mask. And if Dave Chappelle did not want to give a picture after that, they could just, even if Dave Chappelle and friends are being insultive, which is what is suggested, they could just leave. It's like if you're an ordinary person and somebody comes up to you and they are what you think to be annoying or rude or whatever, if you really don't want any kind of issues, you should just back away regardless of what the person says. Because anyway, at the end of the day, what happened was that the people were thrown out of the hotel, which is expected because Dave Chappelle has an entourage. And if there's anybody going to get thrown out, it would be the people that will cost the hotel less money, which would be the other group of people who are not spending money on a whole bunch of rooms for a celebrity's entourage. Anyway, it's hard to bring it all together, but yeah, I can understand that just like there are people who have mental handicaps, people who are having a bad day, it might be hard to do the right thing or the thing that works all of the time. But at the end of the day, no, you don't have a right to light that bounces off of your body. No, you don't have a right to and have people not record the words that leave your mouth. And anybody that thinks that is on a fool's errand. And I understand that a lot of people might not accept this, to me, obvious physics of life. But, hey, that's life. Anyway, thanks for listening, guys. And feel free to share, like, subscribe, comment, any of the above that you would want somebody to do if this were your piece. Have a good one. Peace.